Infertile CEO makes family despair, unexpectedly gets 20-year-old pregnant with triplets.
I mean, that is a title that just, it operates like a psychological crowbar.
Yeah, complete.
It pries open your curiosity, by handing you the primary conflict, the stakes, and this miraculous, biologically impossible resolution, all in just one single breathless sentence.
Right. And that is actually the translated title of the source material we are pulling apart today in this deep dive.
It's quite a mouthful.
It really is. But, I mean, picture this, right? It's 3 a.m., you've had a long day, you're exhausted, and you stumble onto a piece of viral internet fiction. Maybe it's like a targeted ad or a snippet on social media, and suddenly you're just completely paralyzed.
Well, yeah. We've all been there.
Right. You're endlessly scrolling, deeply invested in the fate of this fictional billionaire you didn't even know existed 10 minutes ago. We've all been trapped by that very specific kind of narrative quicksand.
We really have.
Yeah.
And, we like to think we're above soap operas.
Yeah.
We assume our tastes are, too sophisticated for this kind of extreme melodrama.
Oh, for sure.
Yet, these stories, they completely bypass our critical faculties. They just hijack the steering wheel of our brains, and suddenly the need to know what happens next it's an absolute imperative.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive today is to figure out the mechanics of that hijacking. We are going to deconstruct the anatomy of a viral melodrama using the transcripts of this massively popular story as our roadmap.
Right.
We'll extract the key tropes from, secret billionaire heirs to literal ticking time bombs. And we want to pop the hood to understand exactly how this story engineers its relentless aha moments.
That's all very calculated.
It is. We want to know why our brains find this highly specific, utterly chaotic storytelling so irresistibly bingeable.
Well, when you lay the transcript out and really look at the pacing and the structure, you quickly realize these stories are not just random, throw-to-the-wall chaos.
No, they're not.
They are highly engineered dopamine machines. They take very common human desires and foundational modern anxieties, and they just crank the volume up until the knob physically breaks off.
So let's dive straight into the high-stakes foundation of the Luong family, because they are the gravitational center of this whole universe. The family is led by 3 brothers, which gives us this immediate sense of scale.
Right, the classic triad.
Yeah. So we have Heng, who is the cold, incredibly powerful CEO older brother. And crucially, and remember this, the text goes out of its way to establish that he is infertile.
Very important detail.
Super important. Then there's Bang, the hot-headed military middle brother. And finally, Suong, who is a university professor.
Notice the character triad being deployed there, right? The narrative gives us immense corporate power, military brawn, and academic intellect.
It covers all the bases.
Exactly. It covers all the major bases of idealized power in this specific genre. The brothers are, they're less like nuanced human beings and more like pillars of a modern empire.
But that empire is facing a massive existential threat. The family is embroiled in this desperate succession crisis. They need a biological heir to keep their vast fortune and power away from a lurking evil uncle.
The evil uncle is a staple.
Oh, always. So for you listening, think about HBO's Succession, but instead of a boardroom proxy battle, Logan Roy's entire multi-billion-dollar corporate strategy relies entirely on a mystical weather forecast.
I love that comparison.
Right. Because a spiritual master has prophesied that the true destiny of the family, like the savior of their bloodline, will arrive with the, quote, first snow of the season.
Just think about the narrative collision happening in that setup. The story takes ancient mysticism, the prophecy of the first snow, and slams it directly into hyper-modern corporate stakes.
It's literally a boardroom thriller dictated by a crystal ball.
Yes. And it instantly stacks the deck for the listener.
Yeah.
By intertwining corporate inheritance with spiritual prophecy, the author is basically promising you that no coincidence in this story is actually an accident.
It's all fake.
Exactly. Every random encounter, every dropped coffee cup, every missed train, it's cosmic destiny wrapped in a tailored suit. It completely removes the randomness of life, which is honestly incredibly comforting to a reader.
And right on cue, the first snow begins to fall, and the story introduces our protagonist, Zhang Tuyet. And her introduction is just a masterclass in engineered empathy.
It really pulls at the heartstrings.
It does. She is fleeing her incredibly abusive relatives, and the text tells us these relatives literally tore up her acceptance letter to Thornbach University. And this detail stings because she isn't just a smart kid, right? She is a physics prodigy who won a national competition.
The author chose physics for a very specific reason there.
Oh, why is that?
Well, physics represents empirical logic, mathematics, right?
Yep.
A rational understanding of the universe. By having her abusive family destroy her physics career, the narrative is symbolically destroying rationality itself.
Oh, wow. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, it clears the stage for the mystical, illogical, highly emotional narrative logic that is about to take over her life. Add to that, she represents thwarted potential, which creates a much sharper sense of injustice in the audience than just a standard, damsel in distress.
Right. They didn't just ruin her day, they destroyed her entire future. And to twist the knife, they drugged her to force a marriage to a 50-year-old man for a $200,000 bride price.
Awful.
So she is literally running for her life through the snow. Now, because the Long family desperately needs an heir, and we know a baby eventually enters the picture, the plot flawless transitions us into a huge staple of the romance genre.
The fake relationship.
The fake relationship. Bang! The military brother finds Toot, brings her home, and claims to his family that they slept together on a train during the night of the first snow. He proposes a fake marriage to secure his older brother Hang's inheritance from that evil uncle.
I mean, the fake marriage trope is pervasive across global media, and it works because it relieves a massive amount of cognitive load for the audience.
How do you mean?
Well, modern dating is exhausting, right? It is full of ambiguity, ghosting, paradoxes of choice. The fake marriage forces two characters into inescapable proximity. The audience doesn't have to worry about if they will end up together, only how.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah, it replaces the anxiety of modern romance with the comfort of absolute inevitability.
But the inevitability gets a massive biological curveball here. We fast forward, a baby is born, and the child gets a fever. So a doctor examines the baby and finds a very specific birthmark on its foot. The source describes it as a 7-star birthmark.
Now, to understand the gravity of that detail, we have to look at the cultural semiotics. The 7-star birthmark is a legendary mark of a sovereign.
Like an emperor.
Exactly. Historical figures like Liu Bang, who was a peasant that rose up to become the founding emperor of the Han Dynasty, were said in myth to possess this exact mark. It is a cultural equivalent of the divine right to rule.
Wow.
So in the context of this story, it acts as the undeniable mythological genetic stamp of the Luohan main bloodline.
It's essentially a royal barcode stamped right on the baby's foot.
Pretty much.
So the evil uncle sees this and immediately demands a DNA test, which proves that, bang, the soldier who orchestrated the fake marriage is not the biological father. The cover story is blown.
Panic ensues.
Total panic. But then Hang, our cold, calculating, supposedly infertile CEO, steps up. He admits that on the night of the first snow, he was drugged while on a secret mission, hid in a hotel room, and crossed paths with a mysterious woman. He is the real father.
The ultimate twist.
Okay, but I have to pause and push back on the logistics here because
Yeah.
reading these transcripts, I was genuinely bewildered.
Fair enough.
The text spent the entire first act heavily establishing that Hang is infertile. It was the whole linchpin of the family's despair. How does the story justify a suddenly fertile CEO just because he happened to be in a hotel on a snowy night? Are we saying the 7-star birthmark is so powerful it acts as a, retroactive cure for medical infertility?
I completely understand the bewilderment, I do. But applying medical logic here is a trap. In this genre, biological realism is entirely subordinate to dramatic irony. The infertile CEO trope doesn't exist to explore the clinical realities of reproductive health,
Yeah.
It is a psychological tool used to manipulate the audience's baseline expectations.
Meaning it makes the surprise hit harder.
Exactly. It lowers the audience's expectations to absolute zero. If Hang were just a regular, healthy billionaire, a secret baby would be a scandal, but it would be biologically mundane.
Right, it happens all the time.
But by establishing him as infertile, the conception becomes a literal miracle ordained by the heavens. It transforms a soapy plot twist into this insurmountable divine victory over the villains. The logic of the universe simply bends to serve the emotional catharsis of the listener.
So the prophecy of the first snow absolutely overguides human biology.
100%.
Well, now that Hang is the confirmed father and the true heir is established, the narrative engine abruptly shifts gears. We leave the mystery of the succession crisis completely behind and accelerate straight into a pure, unadulterated revenge fantasy.
Oh, this is the best part.
Hang now uses his boundless resources to protect Tuyut from her traumatic past and all the snobs of high society.
We're entering the territory of weaponized wealth. which is perhaps the most defining characteristic of modern viral melodrama.
The display of wealth in these transcripts is staggering to the point of comedy. To protect to it, Hang gifts her an $800 million villa.
Naturally.
He gives her 30% undilutable shares of the massive Loot Group. He hands her a blank Swiss bank check with absolutely no limit. And, just to round out the portfolio, he gifts her 3 entire logistics companies.
Focus on that last detail for a moment. Not one logistics company, 3.
Yeah, why is that specific detail so crucial? It feels so random.
Because hyperspecificity hacks the reader's suspension of disbelief.
Oh, interesting.
If the author just said he gave her $1 billion, it feels abstract and kind of cartoonish. But when the author specifies 3 logistics companies, it introduces this mundane, bureaucratic element into a wild fantasy.
Right.
Logistics implies supply chains, warehouses, fleets of trucks.
Yeah.
It grounds the absurd wealth in a false sense of realism. It tricks the brain into accepting the fantasy because the details feel oddly plausible.
And here's where the weaponized wealth becomes like a superhero power. Tiyot eventually returns to school, reclaiming the physics education that was stolen from her. And naturally, she is bullied by a jealous classmate named Ho-san and her little clique.
Of course.
Hang's response to his wife being bullied is not to call the dean or, I don't know, hire bodyguards. He literally buys Fan back University outright.
He purchases the very institution of her oppression.
Imagine coming home, telling your partner you had a bad day because someone made fun of your outfit at school, and your partner responds by acquiring the real estate and faculty contracts of the entire university.
I mean, it is the ultimate fantasy of frictionless problem solving. Consider why this resonates so deeply with millions of readers, right?
Yeah.
In our daily lives, justice is incredibly slow. It is mired in bureaucracy, it requires endless documentation, and it is often profoundly unfair. If you are bullied, marginalized, or wronged, the process of seeking institutional justice is just exhausting.
You spend months in HR meetings or literally years in court, and often the bully just gets a slap on the wrist.
Exactly. But in this narrative universe, justice is instantaneous, and it is backed by a limitless black card. It taps into a primal desire to see good people instantly rewarded and bad actors unequivocally crushed without the red tape.
And he doesn't stop there.
No, he doesn't.
When Hang bankrupts a rival family's $30 billion real estate project in a single afternoon and casually donates the land to the government for charity, it is a spectacular display of moral financial dominance. He isn't just rich. His wealth is the swift sword of karma.
That's a great way to put it.
And that karma eventually catches up with Toot's abusive relatives, the ones who tore up her acceptance letter and sold her off. We discover in the text that they were actually involved in kidnapping, drugging, and even causing the mining death of her father years ago.
They are thoroughly evil.
Through and through. Hang's infinite resources ensure all this evidence comes to light, and they are utterly ruined and brought to justice. It is a complete clearing of the board. But of course, a melodrama cannot survive in a state of peace.
No, the stakes must continually escalate or the dopamine drip just stops.
Which rockets us into the grand finale. With all the social and corporate enemies vanquished, the evil uncle realizes he cannot win in the boardroom or the bank, so he resorts to literal terrorism.
As one does.
Right. The story pivots from a billionaire romance into a full-blown Hollywood action thriller. It's Christmas Day, the uncle hacks into the family's car and plants a bomb to wipe out the brothers once and for all.
It's wild.
Bang! The military brother is driving the car, and he has to defuse the bomb while navigating traffic. It literally comes down to cutting the correct wire on a dramatic 3, 2, 1 digital countdown.
The genre pivot is whiplash-inducing, but the author executes it with absolute commitment. I mean, every action movie cliche is distilled into a single high-octane scene.
I just have to point out the sheer density of the pacing here. Looking at the timeline in the transcripts, they have packed a corporate takeover, a medical miracle birth, a $30 billion real estate transaction, the dismantling of a criminal family, and a high-speed bomb defusal into what feels like a single holiday weekend.
Yeah.
Did the characters or the audience ever get a second to breathe?
The lack of breathing room is the entire point, is a concept we can call narrative velocity. The pacing is deliberately designed to overwhelm your skepticism.
Okay, so they don't want you to think too hard.
Exactly. If the story slows down for even a single chapter, the reader's analytical brain switches back on. You start asking questions about how a DNA test was processed in 10 minutes or, how you legally transfer ownership of a university over the weekend.
Right, the logistics fall apart.
But by moving at breakneck speed, the author denies you the space to critique the engineering. You are forced to simply ride the emotional wave.
And in the aftermath of surviving the bomb, as the dust settles, the final puzzle pieces of the narrative just lock into place. Hang realizes that Tucha is actually the same girl who saved him from a burning car accident when they were both children.
Easily show.
She bears a specific faded scar from pulling him out of the wreckage. Meanwhile, Bang, the soldier who orchestrated the fake marriage at the beginning, realizes that his true love was actually the mean girl from the university, Hosan.
Which is quite the twist.
Right, and in a wild twist, he actually slept with Hosan on the night of the first snow, tying up his own loose end.
That childhood connection trope, the realization that they saved each other years ago, it functions like the keystone in an architectural arch.
How so?
Well, without a keystone, an arch collapses under its own weight. If Hang and Tu only met because he was hiding in a random hotel room, their epic romance rests on a foundation of creepy coincidence.
Yeah, that would be a little weird.
But by revealing she saved his life as a child, the author drops the keystone into place. It locks the narrative structure together, proving that their love wasn't an accident of timing. It was written in the stars long before the first snow.
The story concludes at a temple, with the brothers thanking the gods, acknowledging that every seemingly chaotic event was destined. The first snow, the train, the bomb, the childhood scar. It was all a giant cosmic setup for a happy ending.
It brings a profound sense of mythological order to an otherwise chaotic world.
To bring all of this together for you listening, this deep dive into the Luong family saga reveals that these viral stories are far more than just, trashy internet fiction. They are meticulously crafted engines of dopamine.
They really are.
They take our most foundational human desires for financial security, for immediate justice, and for true love, and they synthesize them into a perfectly closed loop of satisfaction.
They offer a highly specific psychological utility. When you are feeling bogged down by the nuances, the gray areas, and just the exhausting, slow pace of real life, this type of escapism is medicinal.
Absolutely.
It provides a world where the good guys always win, the bad guys go to jail, and every random coincidence is actually a breadcrumb left by fate.
It is absolute morality delivered at the speed of light. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
We spent this time breaking down the billions of dollars, the frictionless revenge, the destiny-bound romance. We've talked about how these tropes relieve our daily anxieties.
Right, and the implications go much deeper than just wanting to be rich or find a soulmate.
Exactly. Consider the reality we currently live in. We exist in a modern world obsessed with optimization, metrics, and risk mitigation. We use apps to track our sleep, algorithms to find our partners, and data to predict our career trajectories.
We're obsessed with control.
We're constantly trying to optimize our way out of uncertainty. What if our addiction to these hyper-dramatic, absolute morality narratives is actually a severe symptom of data fatigue?
Oh, I like that. We are exhausted by trying to control every variable in our own lives.
Exactly that. What if the true appeal isn't the fantasy of a blank Swiss bank check, but the fantasy of a universe where the ultimate algorithm is simply destiny?
Wow.
In our messy reality, people are infinitely complicated, and no amount of optimization can guarantee a happy ending. But in the world of the Luong family, you don't need to optimize anything. You just have to stand in the first snow of the season and trust that the universe has already done the math for you.
That's a very comforting thought.
It is. How might our own lives feel different if we stopped trying to engineer our futures and believed, even for just a day, that every chaotic moment was already part of a grand, unstoppable master plan? It's something to think about the next time you find yourself paralyzed at 3 a.m., completely hooked by a story you never saw coming.